Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Physique Collective Podcast. We have a special guest today, and I'm just going to preamble this. We've done 2 podcasts with Mike in the previous year, I would say, and we've lost all of the audio on both. So I'm surprised Mike actually wants to talk to us, for one. But Mike, Unorthodox Nutrition. So Mike is, I'll let him intro himself in a minute, but from our perspective, he is the top BJJ and fight sport nutritionist within the UK, certainly I'm aware of, and I tend to follow this sport pretty carefully. Loves a Rice Krispie Squares bar, and that makes him a great guy, as far as I'm concerned anyway. We're just going to basically shoot the shit, as we always do, chat, obviously, about fight sports and why Joe's just going to batter us all, as we were saying off camera beforehand. And yeah, Mike, would you like to intro yourself and keep it kind, how we haven't messed you up multiple times in terms of wasting your time?
Hold on, there's no we.
Well, our videographer, equation. Jake.
Yeah, our job was done perfectly. We were flawless in our execution, Matt. It's
I feel bad for you, Mike. I'm sorry.
It is bullshit.
I've got to say, boys, like at this point, and after last week, I am starting to ask myself if, like, you just don't want to tell me to fuck off.
And I should also
trying to, like, phase me out.
I should have also added in that intro. Mike messaged us at 1:00 last Friday, which was Friday the 14th of November, saying, "Where are you guys?" And I go, "What do you mean?" And he had gone to Strom expecting us to be there, and we thought we were talking today. So again, I'm surprised he's still speaking to us. In all fairness, we're obviously doing something right, or Mike's not got any friends. But Mike, tell us all about you, mate. We're big fans.
Yeah, it's that one. This is part of my autism outreach program, so it's why I keep coming back.
You're with the right guys.
Yeah. Thanks for the kind words, bud. Hang on.
I was going to say,
Were you
I'm
about
actually
to say
not.
you're not?
I'm not.
Fuck off. I've
had a psychotherapist tell me this, bro.
Yeah, but how far? Like, if there was a cutoff, how far close to the cutoff are you?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Just not. So,
if anybody ever edits this, what we need is Joe saying that, and then the clip from The Big Bang Theory of Sheldon going, "I'm not crazy. My mum had me tested." Like, that's the same thing. I wouldn't go as far as say I am the top combat sports nutritionist, but if I am talked about in the same kind of discussion, then that makes me very, very happy. I've been coaching now for, it'll be 18 years in March, so nearly 18 years, so nearly 2 decades, which is showing how old I am. Been very, very blessed for a long time to work with a lot of cool people, and still am, and to, be able to come on and speak to you guys and a lot of other of our peers and things like that. So I'm very, very privileged to be in the position that I'm in. Yeah, I do love a Rice Krispie Square. I'm glad that you saw Sense, but both on Performax and on Rice Krispie Squares now, and they're now starting to buy in bulk, Matt.
Got more.
And Jiu-Jitsu. I'm trying to think of what else I can peer pressure you into doing now.
That's a slightly concerning statement, but you're doing what you're doing 3 for 3 so far. So
yeah, undefeated, undefeated in peer pressuring Matt into doing things. So yeah, thanks for having me back, boys. It's always, jokes aside, I do always love coming on these because we do have some great conversations. And I always learn something as well. So that is one thing that I'm a big fan of, doing stuff like this, like, going down to Strom or doing this with you chaps. Like, I always come away with either a different way of thinking about stuff or like something of like, just like, I did not know that. So it's a very fun thing to be this far in the game and think there's still like so deep you can go and so much you can learn.
I tell you what, I love that mentality as well, because I think one of the biggest issues I see in the coaching world is people thinking they know it all. And just being like 18 years deep, still going, I can learn. I mean, me and Joe, we chat all the time. We're constantly learning stuff. And I think it's a massive green flag whenever I see a coach say like the way they did it before was wrong, or they're always learning. It's a big thumbs up in my book.
Yeah. Like, I know we've chatted about this before previously, but like I've gotten, like I've kept every plan that I've ever done, and I go back now, like a few years ago, 5 years ago, and you see some of the programs that you were writing and you were like, holy crap, like this is like, I feel slightly embarrassed, but obviously at the time, like you were just doing the best that you do. Like, I think I've still got that's on Pages, I think, or Microsoft Word, like the first programs that I ever used to write, which were just, and now you look back and you think, like, I shouldn't have been doing that then. Like, but you live and learn, don't you?
100%.
So, if we're going to talk BJJ topics, I want to talk from our audience's perspective. I don't know, Matt, if you've got a bunch of combat sports clients at the moment.
Yeah, I've got quite a few. I would say. I've got.
Actually, you do. Yeah, I know some of them.
Probably won't discuss those guys, considering they're at the highest level. I don't know how the PD chat would go down.
Yeah.
But
let's just say someone who's on the world stage. Like there's someone, especially on the sub-only scene, there's somebody who's like on the world stage that I'll, definitely say has literally performed like in the biggest of comps from, Polaris. He's obviously done CGI. Like he's like the biggest of the big comps. Like he's been up there, ADCC. Like, that's like, which is quite funny because I don't think, Matt, you even realised who he was, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't to start with. No, I did not realise. He came to me on a recommendation from another guy I coach, and he previously dealt with. I won't name any names of other coaches because I think it's quite bad taste, but someone who had quite extreme PD protocols, and we just sort of were like, what is this? And sorted him out. But now, to answer your question, Joe, I'm definitely getting a lot more. I think the more we've spoken about fight sports, I'm sure you're the same. People are like, oh, that's interesting. And there's I think there's definitely a gap within the market for that PD information, as we've spoken about before. We've sort of covered that. And there does seem to be a bit of an old school mentality. But then again, the bodybuilding world still has a huge old school mentality and they take it daily. So it's a bit of both. Sorry, Joe, I've monologued.
Sorry. What I was going to say is something that I think would be priceless information from Mike, which has been, in my case, the biggest struggle with combat sports clients is knowing, and myself, literally a decision I had to make yesterday that we spoke about, Matt, is the concurrent dose of resistance training and your combat sports training, the auto-regulation thereof. Like, for example, for me, I don't want to make this all about myself, but this is kind of, I think people will come into a similar thing. I've trained Jiu-Jitsu in the past week 5 times, and I've lifted 4 times, and it got to Wednesday evening I went to train gi, and I sucked, man. I sucked bad. So sore, the smallest amount of pressure on my sternum was just killing me, man. My mid-back killing, my neck killing, my hands again. My roll sucked. And then it came to Thursday. Thursday night was gi again, and I felt terrible. I messaged Matt saying, bro, I think it's probably the best idea that I rest tonight, which I don't want to do. But it's previous me just goes anyway and has a really terrible session, doesn't make any good adaptations or learn anything, and then feels even worse on Friday. So my kind of point here is, can we distinguish some reasonable dosages of Jiu-Jitsu alongside resistance training? And do you have any tips on auto-regulating that? When should you skip Jiu-Jitsu? When should you skip resistance training? Is that even a good idea? So on and so forth.
When it comes to auto-regulation for a starting point for combat sports athletes, everyone sucks. Like everyone, we've all had this conversation previously where we are all our own worst coaches. That, where if someone was to present you with that thing that you've just told us there, Joe, you go, well, you need to do this and this, what you're doing. But we're terrible with ourselves. So when it comes to lifting, a lot of combat sport athletes think that it's going to make or break what we do this week, where it's not. And we all know that it's like what our progress is like this month. And especially in combat sports, like if we use Jiu-Jitsu, because we all do Jiu-Jitsu, progress is measured slowly. You know what I mean? Like it takes 10 years on average to get a black belt, 2 years to a blue belt, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the longer term. Now, when it comes to lifting specifically for it, for people who really struggle with auto-regulation, what I really like is, like, Joe, you could, like, if memory serves, and I might be wrong now, you still have like quite, like your frequency is like quite high for lifting with combat sports, so like 4 or 5 times a week and split things.
Yeah, 4 days.
Yeah. For most people, if we say hobbyists to like semi-serious competitors, like it's why I really like talking a lot about like Wendler's 531, because that can be done off 2 days and added extra days on top. And it's also one of those that when you feel really beat up, you still can go in, do your main lifts and hit your prescribed numbers of reps. And that only might be 2 exercises or 1 exercise, but now you're splitting it up, and then just leave the gym. Because then you still feel it's ticking that box for a lot of people that I'm still accomplishing something. I'm still moving the needle where I need to move it. And this is the big rocks, if you like, that's going to get me the biggest progress. But then I can still have recovery time for Jiu-Jitsu. Now, when it comes to auto-regulation for Jiu-Jitsu, everybody's terrible because the mentality is always more is more. I found personally, the more and more people I speak to that have like real-world jobs and responsibilities or high workloads, 20 to 25 rounds per week seems to be the top out for most people. When you start going past that, I start to see what I would call just like a lot of like junk volume, I suppose, is the best way to kind of like class it. I don't know how you guys have found yourselves when you start to look at that, or clients that you work with. Obviously, it's different if you're working with pros and stuff, but I'm talking, quite generally there.
I think 20 is, I mean, I wouldn't class myself anywhere on the human spectrum of where we consider an athlete to be in jiu-jitsu, but I train 4 days a week, work a fairly stressful job, try and get 2 cardio sessions in, and then when you add in a number of sessions to get you to that 20 rolls, if you're not conditioned to that and you haven't got all your other variables in play, like your recoverability, that's gonna kick you a little bit, well, a lot of it. And I think in order to get that amount of rolls, if you're doing like, well, that's at least 4 sessions, let's be fair, isn't it? So, and probably an open mat. So I think that's probably going to add up from both a frequency of session standpoint and also number of rolls.
Yeah. I'm interested, kind of, especially like for you, Joe, where if we like touch on like lifting, when it comes to, obviously, so many people follow like progressive overload and stuff like that. And still, if they're coming from, say, physique or a bodybuilding type background or even lifestyle bodybuilding and move into jiu-jitsu, volume still remains high when it comes to reps. I don't see many people who are moving over from that, like backing reps down and, like going for a low volume, higher intensity type method rather than just still staying on the, quite high volume per body part and then trying to do 3 or 4 jiu-jitsu sessions on top and just quickly running into problems.
Yeah, I think the rep count is a really valid discussion for us here. It's become a popular discussion in the physique development world, rightfully so, because we know you could say units of fatigue that you will accumulate over the course of a quote-unquote effective set will be less with lower reps. Let's say the kind of 4 to 8 or sort of 4 to 9 rep range. I think it's even more pertinent as a discussion in people that do other things that are fatiguing, like jiu-jitsu, because every unit of fatigue really, really counts. In bodybuilding, I don't think we need to treat fatigue necessarily like the boogeyman. Although it's worth paying, we don't want to completely ignore it.
Yeah.
It's worth paying attention to. But I think for jiu-jitsu, yeah, we need to be thinking, okay, what's the lowest rep range north of 4 that we can comfortably, with no joint, ligament, tendon, integrity, stressors, perform our sets in? Also, what's the lowest dose of volume that we require for our goals? When I first started doing jiu-jitsu, coming on 2 years ago now, my volume was probably like 8 to 10 sets of body part per week, and it kind of kept chipping down as I discovered that the recoverability was impossible, and I've ended up around the 2 to 4, apart from pecs, are on 6, you know, and that's it, you know. And even then, even at those volumes, I'm still struggling to adapt and recover.
Yeah. Matt, do you still do stuff like myo reps and stuff like that? Because I know at one point you were quite a big advocate of that.
I still do them as a time saving, purely on like isolation movements. So like delts, arms, I'll use it there. I think trying to manage that through other movements personally, whilst let's say you're comparing 3 straight sets to 1 rest pause set, the 1 rest pause set's going to be less fatiguing. That 1 rest pause, if done wrong, could just bury you. I'm notoriously bad at doing this to myself, where I take every single set to failure within that, and I go, I feel fucked, and I'm consistently bad at it. So I only trust myself to do it on movements that doesn't really matter. And this is a mistake that people make.
I tend to give clients more straight sets for that reason, because it is easier to push to 0 RAR on a rest pause. You know, when you're only getting 2 or 3 reps in one of those myo reps, it's easy to do a little partial, you know, for like the 3rd rep or whatever. So yeah, with clients, I tend to use them sparingly if they're on lower volume models, and just stick to like literally straight sets in like the 4 to 9 rep range. That's the king, in my opinion, for these kind of things.
I suppose it depends on what the goal is for lifting. Like a lot of people looking to kind of maintain or build like a certain level of like muscularity, or like are they looking to just purely add it in for benefits that it'll give to grappling? Like both you guys kind of came in with like a good level of strength. So, but you see so many grapplers who are like the other way. They do loads and loads of jiu-jitsu, but they do no like dedicated strength work. Like you speak to people, you're like, oh, like you would be a monster. Like if you just got a bit stronger, you would be a monster. Like, but obviously, like strength matters like quite a bit in combat sports. So I think that like when people, especially, come into here and it's like, well, what needles are we trying to move here? Like, are you wanting to be jacked and do jiu-jitsu, or are you only looking at lifting as a vehicle of improving your grappling? And then sessions and volumes look very, very different.
I can't.
Go on, Joe.
Sorry, Matt. I can't overemphasize, in my opinion. Like my experience has been that if more jiu-jitsu guys focused on accumulating strength through resistance training, their game would change. You know, I'm constantly, you know, many times every single week I'll roll someone and they'll go, oh, you're just too strong, man. You're just too strong. You know, and I'm not actually very strong. You know, I'm just stronger than the average person. And if they got stronger, they'd absolutely cook the life out of me, even though they're 20, 30, 40 kilos lighter than me. It's just the ability to, you know, especially defensively, just like move things out the way, escape, like pin escapes and submission escapes. I don't even need any technique, you know, just like moving shit out the way becomes effortless. But if those guys did that, man, you know, there'd be some killers.
This is why I do think something like strength standards plays in. So whilst I don't like to sit there and say, you know, anyone seen on the bodybuilding forums or whatever, you say, this is a elite level strength for whatever, like if you can deadlift 3 times body weight. But if you apply those strength standards to some degree to jiu-jitsu, just say like, have your own versions of that and pick some movements. Like, okay, if you could weighted chin a certain amount, and if you could, I don't know, let's say bench press or a equivalent a certain amount and got stronger to that to reach a threshold, you're gonna have an improvement to your game, like Joe said. And not only that, you're probably gonna have less injuries. You're gonna have like more robust soft tissue. And it doesn't have to just be in the case of getting jacked, but everyone is probably going to benefit from having a higher degree of lean mass at their relevant weight cap. So even if they just change their body composition, just a bit more muscle, a bit less body fat, and had more strength, had a more, I guess, a capacity for strength, the game would change. And then the final point I make is, look at the guys at the top of the game; they're fucking jacked. So obviously, there's a benefit to that. You can't ignore those. You can't ignore the visual aspect of what's going on at the top.
There is, yeah. It's a hindrance that plagues jiu-jitsu more than other combat sports. that, you know, that it's the idea that strength doesn't matter, that technique conquers all. And it certainly does. You know what I mean? You know, you both will know, guys, when you first started in your gyms, that the first couple of weeks you were there, the first couple of months, would just do whatever they wanted to you. You know what I mean? Like,
Still
it was
happens.
like, yeah. But
Still going on.
they will, but they'll be like, they'll give you less, not that they don't do whatever they want, but it's not as easy for them. Because you're kind of like, when you know the kind of the rough roadmap of where they're going, the problem, like, you can stop them. The problem where skill overcomes strength is when you don't know what the other person is doing. You know what I mean? When you've got no concept of it at all, then you're like, especially in gi and things like that, like sometimes you're like, I just do not know what you are trying to do to me. So I do not know how to stop you doing this. But when you know, it's like, you know, like Joe was saying there, just like from in terms of robustness or stopping positions and stuff, you're like, no, get the fuck off. Like, I'm just not going to let you manipulate me in that way. Like, we were joking when we were at Strong Matt and we were talking about it the other day, like Gav Bilton, you know, Strongman Strong, like when he started, he was saying, oh yeah, I just get manhandled by like 75 kilo guys. And I was like, yeah, but not for long. Because as soon as, like, literally, like, when you know when they're setting up an armbar, they physically can't finish an armbar on you. Like, physically can't. Like, even it's your, you know, it's the thing in Jiu-Jitsu, like, oh yeah, well, it's like my whole body against your arm. I was like, yeah, but it's your whole body against someone who's 300 fucking kilos, who, like,
I think they're,
you know,
if you're 75 kilos, his arm weighs as much as your body.
Yeah, like, it's like, we were joking when we were there, weren't they? That, like, if I stood next to Gav Bilton, it's like, how are we still the same fucking species? Like, you know what I mean? And it's the thing where, Joe, you were saying there that people were like, oh, you're so strong. And you're like, oh, well, I'm not. But that's because you know, like, deep the rabbit hole goes. You don't actually, like, you don't need, going back to strength standards, like, let's say you just, I don't know, you went from being able to deadlift 80 kilos to 160 kilos. Like, there's probably in general population not many people who can deadlift 160 kilos, which is wild in the circles that we run in, because there's people who, you know, benching that and rowing that and, you know, doing much, much more than that. So you're like, oh, well, that's nothing. But you get removed from actually what Gen Pop is actually like.
And again, if that's your limiting factor, so if that, say your strength's at a 1 and your strength goes to a 10, like or like a 5 out of 10, let's say, it's gonna make a big fucking difference. Like, as a force multiplier. And one of the things I've said about before, Joe, we mentioned this on tons of podcasts, is the more technical a sport is, the less the physical attributes make sense. So, like, think about cricket as an example. Cricket, very highly technical sport. Back in the day, you'd have guys just big old belly because they were good at a game of cricket. What happened is they introduced strength and conditioning. Now all your cricketers are athletes, and they can now fucking bowl a ball like 90 plus, like, quite easily. Like, everyone's doing that, and it's become just much more of a fitness-based game because they realise the force multiplier that is to do it. And obviously, that's not in a combat sport. A combat sport where your job is to dominate another person. I mean, if you said what are the key contributing factors physically that are going to allow you to do that, strength would be, I would guess, number 1.
Yeah. If we take your client who shall not be named, like, if I pluck him and put him into any environment in real life, fucking Asda, right? He's the most jacked person in Asda by, you know, a considerable amount. But if I take him and I put him into, you know, ADCC in his weight category, he is average. You know what I mean? There's not like one skinny dude who's murdering everybody. Like, you look at the weight categories and everyone is built roughly the same. Some people may have, like, be taller, or, you know, have, like, limb lengths is like another conversation when it comes to genetic advantages. Those factors are removed. Like, yeah, you can be stronger than them, but everybody's roughly, that's when technical, like, ability comes more in. The gaps become smaller. Like, it's the age-old argument, isn't it, that if strength didn't matter in combat sports, why don't men fight women? Like, It's like, I know that sounds a bit, funny, but the reason is that one would do a lot more damage to the other. It's not a fair comparison. 70 kilo male versus a 70 kilo female is just different. But it's a weird one to have a sport that pushes back so hard against something that would make you better, so much faster than gaining technique.
Yeah, I think it's just the mentality of the game. I personally don't tend to see it. Obviously, you're a lot closer to that coalface than myself, Mike. But everyone I speak to at my gym seems pretty keen on like the physical development side of it. They're all keen on like, I think they all understand it's like a vector. So like if you've got someone who's like super flexible, right? So say you've got someone who's got like crazy good guard, right? It makes sense for them to utilize their skills. If they're really flexible, long limb length, they've got the ability to do that, they're going to use it. It's no different to someone being really fucking strong. But like, I'm going to use what I got.
It's I think I said it to you before, George, when like if you roll with someone, they're like, oh yeah, like, oh, you're just so strong, you're just too strong. Great, we'll have an agreement. I won't use strength, but you can't go fast. Like, you can't be much faster than me if I can't be much stronger than you, and we'll have this gentleman's agreement. And then all of a sudden, that's not very fair. Like, you never finish like rolling with someone and go, oh God, you're just too fast. Like, it's you understand that, it's not down to that.
Everyone's using what attributes they've got.
Yeah.
Well, I quite often roll with a guy at my club called Ben, who's a purple belt. And he's a big, big dude. I'm not sure exactly what he weighs now. It must be 120, if not 130 kilo. Big, big guy. But also mega technical. Mega like Jiu-Jitsu purist kind of guy, just doing some of the craziest guards and sweeps and shit in the gi, And when I roll with him, man, it's like a religious experience in the worst way. There is nothing I can even... Never even get 1% of the way to passing his guard, before I know I'm on my head somewhere on the other side of the room. I think when those two vectors of the size and the strength and the astronomical technicality and capability meet, there's this unbelievably powerful synergy that's terrifying.
Do you think that's why so many like bodybuilders and powerlifters that are coming over to Jiu-Jitsu like it so much, because it is like they've gone through something that, don't get me wrong, has incredible like technical elements to them, especially powerlifting, things like that. But it is a lot more of a physical sport, you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of says that people who train like savages generally do a lot better than people who are super technical and lift execution. I know there is a meeting of those vectors, but that when they go to Jiu-Jitsu, it is like, oh my God, like so much technicality can actually, out like take away that physicality. And it's where they think, well, actually, yeah, this is brand new to me. So it's very, very kind of attractive.
I think there's also the element that, personally speaking, I can tell you what I like is it's combat, it's combat and it's contact, but it's not like when I used to play rugby. I'm 38. I couldn't go back to playing rugby. I'd break. Whereas this, it's less like collision, which is a definite win. I think it's also quite systematic in the sense that most bodybuilders want a progression. Or anyone that's interested in physique development, they're interested in like, I can make these micro progressions. And whilst you can't track it in jiu-jitsu, you can feel it. I can feel that I am potentially getting better. And there's obviously the gradings, which is a progression element. And I also think because it's not like you saying MMA, because in MMA you've got different things. You got a stand-up game, you've got ground game, you've got striking, you've got take everything. In this, it's like jiu-jitsu. It's a bit. I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. It's a bit simpler because it hasn't got striking. It's obviously not simple because I'm fucking retarded.
I know exactly what you're saying.
But you know what I mean, like comparatively. So all those things are definitely the reasons I can see it, and I think why a lot of people are drawn to it.
I do think as well, like, if you look at like all of jiu-jitsu in terms of, let's just from a programming standpoint, whether it's nutrition or supplementation, or we'll take PEDs out of it because it's so far in the dark ages, it's mad. But like just of training periodization, how like most people now approach, especially bodybuilders and things like that, they're training in a very systematic way. Like, I still think Jiu-Jitsu is light years behind so many of the sports. Like, Matt, you'll know from coming into like rugby, you know, practice sessions are structured and stuff like that. Like, I know you struggle quite a little bit with coming in and like going, I need to know the roadmap. I need to know where I'm going rather than how this class is structured of just do this technique. Like, I think that coaching is, as far as like skill acquisition goes, in Jiu-Jitsu is miles behind so many other sports. Like years and years and years and years. It's getting better. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's when.
I think it's the sort of sport, personally, where there has to be some self-directed learning going on as well. Because just the nature of how you are taught is a group setting. And obviously, there's different grades, different levels. It's impossible to structure that for everyone. One thing my gym started doing is they're doing these beginner classes, so they actually explain the fundamentals, which I think is actually a really good thing. Kind of, what's this? Because when I went to my first session, they were like, right, you're framing, and I was like, what's that? Like, what's a guard? I've got no idea. And I guess no one's going in as like blind as I did, but maybe they are. I didn't even know what the terminology was. I've got no idea. So I've walked away being like, what? I don't even know what's good. I'm still learning, but I mean, at least you understand what the kind of progression would look like to some degree, and what the goal is. I think that's why potentially the self-directed learning has to be an element. I don't mean in the sense of like trying to learn how to do a flying armbar, but I mean just like understanding this is what is required of you within this sport.
Yeah, especially when you get like stuck, because it's quite like a hard thing. There's a lot of things like if we take like like Q&A, like, you know, if I get stuck on, if I've got a PED question, or I've got a supplementation question, or I've got, you know, I can quite find answers quite easy to those questions, like as long as I know like the places where to look. But sometimes like when you get stuck somewhere in Jiu-Jitsu, like I can't keep getting caught in this half guard that I can't pass, or this guy just keeps stopping me doing this move, and you don't really have the ability to kind of like, or you need the ability, sorry, shall I say, to kind of go, right, I need to find the solution to this. And 9 times out of 10, it is you doing it on your own, or paying for privates with coaches and stuff and going, look, like, you know, Dave keeps smashing me with this. What is it? And they're like, oh, you're forgetting to do X, Y, and Z. So, and I think one of the things about making it so attractive, I'm monologuing, you know, is that the branches of the tree are so numerous, shall I say? Like, it's not as simple as A, B, C. It's more like A, B, 7, Q, C, F. And then, but that also comes over here into 17 squared. And it's like, I'm going through this map of, well, it depends is insane, to be honest.
Yeah, can I, so what would your advice be here, Mike? Because I think this is quite a common pathology, is like Jiu-Jitsu enthusiast in their first year of training that goes to club, and then they're like, right, today we're going to learn this takedown, and then this way to get into Kimura from side control. And then, you know, you do a few rounds of that, and then we spar. Then you come in next week. Right, today we're going to do this completely different takedown, and then we're going to do this pin escape. Then you come in the next week, and, you know, you cycle through these things, and you kind of going like, you know, what do I use this giant repertoire for? In fact, I've already forgot that thing that you showed me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, what advice do you have for people that are thinking, you know, maybe I need to just figure out a small group of things to get good at?
Yeah. And I want to face this by saying I actually suck at Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm not a Jiu-Jitsu coach. This is just my opinions of what I see, like overall from what I see. With get coaching, get privates. Honestly, like I know a lot of people think, oh, well, you've just got to learn everything when you start. Like literally try and have like from the basic places. So a guard, say like a closed guard or some kind of open guard, half guard, side control, top, side control, bottom, mount, top and bottom, back, you know, go right. What are the moves that I do in this area? Or 2 or 3, just 2 in each, and try and find your 2 in each that you like. You probably like them because you'll start having success with them. based on your own natural attributes, whether that's speed, strength, or whatever it is, or it just makes sense in your brain. Then when people stop you doing these things, or you can't do these things, go and have private lessons and go, right, I'm getting stuck here. Right, this is what's happening. And then a coach will go, right, okay, you're doing X, Y, and Z. And then you go, right, okay, and then go back and apply that and then rinse and repeat that. I think if you did, even if you like say at RL, I'm doing 3 classes a week, I would probably say, right, well, do 2 classes and 1 private coaching. We'll probably accelerate like skill acquisition quicker because it's more dedicated to what you're doing. Because you might keep getting stuck in, side control bottom all the time, but you might not cover side control bottom escapes for 2 months when you're in the gym. So you'll lose 8 weeks there of just being stuck in the same position, of just getting frustrated when you could have probably worked through that a bit. But if you're one of those lucky people who can learn via watching video and stuff like that, then you can apply that as well, like instructionals or going away and doing your own research and stuff like that. Some people, I do not learn well with that. I always forget. I can never remember the stuff when it comes to rolling. I'll watch it on Instagram or a YouTube video or instruction. I think, oh, great, that's fantastic. And then I'll be rolling and then I'll finish the session. I'll be thinking, well, I didn't do that at all once, or even try to. So I'm terrible for that. But if somebody goes, right, well, you're fucking this up, do this. Right, okay, I'll just do that. So it works better for me. But then that's another conversation on learning types when it comes to skill acquisition as well. It's how many learning types are there? I would say there's 4, or is there 3? Joe, you'll know this.
I don't know at all, man.
I know it's kinesthetic, visual.
Kinesthetic, yeah, visual. There's listening.
Oh, I've gone blank.
Might be 3. But yeah,
keep talking. I'm going to Google it.
Yeah. So you learn by doing. You physically got to do it yourself, and you learn that way, fucking it up and doing it again and again. Some people can watch something be done and go, right, yeah, that's it. And some people can read it and go, yeah, now I know how to do it. And everybody learns differently, or a combination of those.
Yeah.
Leads one into the other.
Visual, kinesthetic, and auditory, apparently.
Yeah, so 3. I thought there's 4. I was wrong. The first one's autism. So the first.
Well, apparently there's also visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and reading and writing. But I can't see how reading and writing may help.
Yep. But they're not addressed when it if we look at it from a skill acquisition point, it's all kinesthetic. It's just literally doing the move. Where some people if you're having it done to you or you're trying to do it, you might learn better by watching somebody else do it. Or vice versa, if you're watching a technique being shown, you need to feel it being done on yourself the correct way before you think, all right, actually, well, it's supposed to feel like this when I do it to you. So then it's oh, well, do you feel pressure here? Or, can you move this way? And then they're yes or no for their feedback. And then you've got kind of things like that. But that's not addressed at all. But this is really deeply down the rabbit hole because I don't think that's really doesn't exist much in physique sports as well off the top of my head. That I can think of.
Yeah, I had privates for my first year, and that was so useful. I just did 1 private a week, and I don't think without, shout out Joe Addy, he's probably not watching this, he's fighting next week. I did privates with Joe for a year. I don't think without that I could have constructed my kind of generalized role game plan. Having right from here I'm trying to get to here. And then I'm going to try and go to here and here. And if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. Being able to pace through that again and again and again has been so useful.
I think especially with both of you, because you come from a coaching background, the why is so important. You've generally got questioning mindsets. If somebody came up to you and said, for example, Retitude's great, you should take it. The first time you heard of it, you go, okay, well, that's okay, but I'm going to find out, why? What are the mechanisms that it's using? Is this actually bullshit? Where if I came to you and in Jiu-Jitsu and said, look, some people, you just go, if you put your hand here, they can't move. They go, okay, yep, definitely. But then you two were probably well, why can't he move? That makes no sense. And then, so I think sometimes it's how accepting you are of information.
I will say I've been having private, before I had the surgery, I was having private once a week. And basically, I did exactly what you said, Mike, is I'd go, I tried this. This kept happening. Can we go over this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And it would just become a bit more, like, make a bit more sense. And it definitely, with my mindset, it's helpful just to be like, almost like, why does this work? Like you said there. And what are the kind of the decision trees from that point?
Yeah. And I think a variable that makes it really hard in jiu-jitsu as well is depends who you're doing it on. You know what I mean? Like, you can do stuff on white belts and it works 100% of the time, but then you'll go to do the exact same thing the exact same way to like a purple belt, brown belt, or whatever, or a blue belt, and they'll be like, they move slightly different, or they don't apply weight in the same way or pressure in the same way, and then it doesn't work. And you're like, when you're trying to like make sense of it in your head, especially in the beginning, you're like, well, why does it work on you but doesn't work on you? Like, what's that? Am I fucking this up, or is the skill gap there? You know what I mean? Like, it's where you've got both like individual things, you know, that you've got to think about how you move, how you apply things, but then their response to that, which you just don't have in physique sports. It's a one-man band, you know, type go, isn't it?
It's you versus you. It's like you versus the bar. Like, it's as was it Henry Rollins? He said like 50 pounds is always 50 pounds. With that ain't the same. In a fight sport, that 50 pounds is fighting back.
Yeah, it's like, but is that 50 pounds like a blue belt or a black belt? Because a 50-pound black belt isn't the same as a 50-pound blue belt. They don't weigh the same. I don't care what anyone tells you. It's how like those, rubber plates weigh less than metal.
I was about to say exactly same. It's rubber versus metal plates.
Yeah, if the metal plates weigh more, it's science.
It's science.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we've got. I wanted to talk to you guys about peptides and stuff like that, but I think we might have to
put that. We might have to put that on another one because I'm got to go in like 5 minutes.
How much peptides can we talk in 5 minutes, bro?
Right, let's talk.
I'd love to do a whole podcast on peptides because they're a bit of my pet
I'll tell you what,
at the moment.
What we'll do is we'll put pause on this one. We'll get another one booked in. We'll promise we don't lose the audio on this one, and we'll do a specific one. And what Joe and I can do as well, and you can do it, Mike, is we can ask our audience for questions, and we can go through a bunch of different stuff, which I think is probably going to be better from a time.
Let me put a teaser out there. Peptides that I think are useful for combat sports athletes, but requires context. Growth hormone, EPC 157, TB 500, KPV, GHKCU, MOTS-C, SS31, Zelank, and potentially DSIP.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because I want to talk to you about them. So,
there we go.
Like, Zelank definitely is one where I was like, I never expected that to be in the list. Again, thingy, like, obviously, I know that's for one that I didn't expect you to put in. Did you put in MOTS-C there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was MOTS-C in there, yeah. And SLU was in there. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I use every single one of those on that list.
Yeah. But I know you might have probably got some... I know you probably got meth blue on that list that you didn't mention there, Joe.
I do use methylene blue. It's not a peptide.
As a peptide, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there's a... Yeah, I would say I'm in agreement with that. I think we can obviously dive into that a little bit more in a further episode. But in terms of, we're running up on time here. So what I'll say, Mike, if you let people know where they can find you, and what we're going to do is we're going to book you in for another one, and we're going to go deep into the peptide and PED element for BJJ and fight sports.
That'd be awesome. Everybody can find me at Unorthodox Nutrition, unorthodoxnutrition.co.uk on the website, and on all social media, Unorthodox Nutrition. You can find me there.
Lovely. And like I say, we can happily co-sign Mike. I happily will do that. And if you aren't following him and you're interested in BJJ or fight sport nutrition, what are you doing? Follow him. It's a no-brainer.
Cheers for having me, guys. I really do love doing this.
No, let's do the big peptide one next. Let's
keen.
book it in.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm all over it.
That'd be cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.